You are probably a young guy between the ages of 14 and 21. As most guys at that age, you're trying to give your life meaning. You want to understand the purpose of your existence. Now, you probably aren't very social. Well, maybe you are. Maybe you are social. But you are treated like an outcast by most people. Now, you might not have any real friends, and the ones that you do have seem like they would never have your back in a tough situation. You are also not very good with the opposite sex. Sure, maybe you can talk to girls, but they don't like you. It's kinda obvious. Maybe you work out, maybe you try to be spiritual, but you know the world sees you as a outlier, in a negative sense. Some of you are very bright, but most of you probably aren't doing very well in school. Which doesn't mean you're stupid, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily smart either. While you are young, and you yet have to experience many things, you feel that it's all kind of depressing. Is this really your existence? You are not certain where your life will go. But here comes this guy who promises you that if you follow his advice, you will resolve your depression. He has all the answers. And this guy, he speaks with a level of certainty that you have rarely, if ever, observed. Now, I have seen it many times, but to you this is new. You have never seen how a cult leader operates, and you don't know how similar they are to each other. Such conviction! This guy must be very smart. There's no other way to explain it. He gives a perspective on diet and life philosophy that you've never really thought about before. Now, on top of that, he tells you that not working out is really good for you. In fact, it will make you stronger. And you also shouldn't seek out most forms of pleasure. Mostly the forms of pleasure that you already don't have access to, but there are some forms that are good. The things that he personally likes, those forms of pleasure are fine, like certain genres of man-made music. Now, he tells you that natural humans would be outcasts in modern society, much like yourself. Now, your gut feeling tells you a lot of this doesn't make sense. But you like it. So why not agree with it? And as a result, you finally feel validated in a world where no one ever validated you. You finally realize that you were never this loser outcast that everyone made you out to be. No. Obviously not. You are a Sigma male. A real lone wolf. A strong, independent human being. A human who is more natural than others. And also, your virginity is not something to be ashamed of. In fact, it's not even something neutral. No, it's a badge of honor. It shows that you are a real winner. Now, you never saw it like that before, but now you do. And that gives you a sense of comfort. You really try to mimic yourself after this guy. And you lose your sense of identity to something greater. You don't truly feel it, but you really want to see yourself as this dominant guy who is obsessed with blood, violence, and man-made death metal. You never even liked death metal before, but now you do. It's probably because you eat raw meat, and that this has regenerated your nerves, and now you suddenly like it, like he said was going to happen. Now people around you start talking about how weird you've gotten. Even people, your peers, fellow kids, that were already not doing, well on the social ladder, they are suddenly avoiding you. But the reason for this is obvious. You see, eating raw meat has made you based. So based, in fact, that your old friends can no longer handle you. Everyone around you is just a mentally ill slave. And you are just too cool. You're just too awesome. Too much testosterone. They just can't handle it. You are better than them. You. Yes, you. You're special. They're just scared of how natural and cool you are. You didn't need those losers, And in fact, you should only interact with fellow raw meat eaters. Because they are the only ones that understand the objective truth of the universe. Now, the moment you go to a meetup, for most of these people you kind of wonder, who are these weird people? But they're more like you have more in common with them. So, they are the natural human beings, they are the superior human beings. That's what you tell yourself. And that's definitely true. In the meantime, you watch many videos of your idol. He feels like the big brother that you never had. Maybe he even feels like he's a father figure. And he is doing another reaction video about a guy who doesn't eat raw meat, who obviously looks 30 years older than he actually is. Man, are you happy knowing that you will never age like these slaves? You will live to 150, at least. Now at this point, you followed him for a few months, and you are very well aware that there's a lot of material available on the internet that shows that your idol doesn't have this perfect skin that he really wants you to believe that he has. In fact, unlike having forehead wrinkles when you raise your eyebrows, your idol has a slight turkey neck at the age of 29, which is an undeniable sign of premature aging. Now you are fully aware of these things, all of these inconsistencies. You know that there are many. In fact, because you study him so well, you know that there is a lot of dirt on this person. A lot. But it's fine. You don't have to acknowledge them. You don't have to acknowledge these inconsistencies. What's important is that this guy cured your depression. If you could do that, then what else matters? Now as time goes on, while you still follow his advice to a T, you start to feel empty. But you convince yourself that you are living your best life, eating raw meat, walking in a forest, you never drink alcohol. You tell yourself you are and feel so much better than everyone else. In fact, it frustrates you, that others don't know this. You love telling other people that they look aged, or that they are clearly depressed, unlike you of course, because you're special, you're superior, and they are slaves. They're stupid. Unlike you. It's how you assert to yourself that you are fully content with your life and everyone else is not. Everyone else is depressed, everyone else is a slave, everyone else is dumb. Not you. Now everyone around you calls you a garbage human being for looking up to your idol, which they obviously do because they are jealous of you. They tell you that he's literally a manipulative sociopath. He acts tough, but every rough situation that he's ever been filmed in, he does all he can to avoid escalation. Which doesn't make sense after all the things that he has said. On camera, he says that he could easily beat Eddie Hall. And you could too. And you like that. That makes you feel good. So you don't continue to question it. Or we can say that it's a joke for views. It kind of depends on the type of fan you are. No one is the same. But it's obvious what the man has done. But you ignore that because, well, what he did was natural. That's what you tell yourself. The world around you doesn't treat you like the alpha male that you obviously are. They ask why you are so shitty to want to associate with this person. Others who used to be his fans many years ago, in fact long before you even heard of him, including some people that have met him in real life, explain to you that he's a garbage person in all ways imaginable. He is not this very smart individual. He is actually quite stupid. He is weak. He is not brave. He is unreliable. All of those things, He's a scammer. He preys on young, naive boys. And they know that. That's what they say. They know that very well because they have been in the exact same situation that you've been in right now. They tell you, listen, I have been there too. He is not what you think he is. Please be smarter. Learn from my mistakes. But you don't care. You're smarter than those people. They are fake followers who never really understood his message. Now, over time, many of you will fall, stumble and struggle with this religion. Some of you, much like the majority of his past followers, will become some of his most fanatic detractors, or his haters. Some of you will need a life-changing event for that to happen. Maybe at some point you act a little bit too tough towards an inferior grain muncher, and you get your ass whooped with ease. Despite that you've been on the superior, natural, really cool human diet, and they aren't. How can that be possible? I was told I would get superpowers if I just eat raw meat and I don't work out. What's going on? Or maybe you see that people with clearly inferior facial features lead a better life than you. And it will not change your mind immediately, but it will likely do that over time. Very few of you will be able to stay true to your faith, which is a real shame. And then over time, if too many of his ex-followers become blasphemers, then probably this religion in its entirety will fall, with only the most devout followers remaining. Yes, this will probably mean that the religion will fall, as many diet gurus have before. But the next time you see the next Goatis pop up, which will definitely happen, you will recognize all the patterns, all the behaviors. It's one last affirmation to you how truly mediocre the man actually was. Someone that you once saw as the Messiah. And in the meantime, your life has gotten plenty of meaning. Meaning that no longer relies on the so-called teachings of any guru, any spiritual teacher, but your own wisdom. You can finally forge your own path and be your own person. Who knows? Maybe you too will one day warn others of false prophets. But more important, you will fight for something much greater than all of this. Your idol will eventually be nothing but a relic of the past. To you personally, in fact, just a lesson for you on how to be better than what you once so naively believed to be the pinnacle. And you'll finally know that your destiny is greater than eating raw meat in a forest.